Hey there, SCT friends. I'm so excited to be with you today to share a layout from the spring 2023 issue, the Creating with Sketches column. And on this layout, I am going to be using a lot of my card making supplies. You'll see only one piece of pattern paper and lots of metal die cuts being used. Now, this is one of those layouts that does take a long time to create, but the effect is so worth it, and I hope you'll agree with that. Let's start, shall we? I am using a beautiful Scrapbook Generation sketch by Allison Davis, and I could not love this sketch anymore, so much so that I'm sticking almost all the way to it. It is so beautiful. It's telling me exactly where I'm going to place my florals, and I am just going to go with this sketch and see where it takes me. Now, what I have here is a favorite photo of my daughter from last spring taken at the zoo. And I just want this page to be about her and how wonderful she is. So I've grabbed a piece of pattern paper in my stash from close to my heart and a lot of cardstock, mostly from Concord and Ninth and Spellbinders. I'm going to cut a strip of this pattern paper to run right across my 8.5 inch by 11 inch piece of white cardstock that I'm using as my background, and you'll see that I follow that exactly as per the sketch. Now, instead of doing three separate photos, I'm going to do this tall photo. I think this is a 3 by 5, and I'm going to attach it to a journaling card underneath. This is one of those journaling cards that would normally go in a pocket page, but again, this layout is all about using what you have on hand, no matter if it's scrapbooking supplies or card making supplies. So we are going with that. And it also holds a really nice place for my journaling. Instead of using strips, I also like that it has some florals there along the outside of that journaling box. So there is my photo and my journaling matted. I love that the color that I chose to mat the photo perfectly matches her t-shirt. It really sets it off. Now I want to get some contrast in here. So I am going to go with some minty hues. I have that really pale teal on the background, and then I have that peachy color. I'm going to bring in some minty greens and some corals and some dark greens as well. It's going to be one really beautiful color combination, so fresh and pretty for spring. I also love that more yellowy green for leaves. It's just awesome, awesome combinations here. So I'm going to bring in some strips just to, again, bring in that contrast to the background. This layout is mostly created with cardstock. So if you are a card maker and you've always wanted to give a layout a try, this is the perfect one, my friends. If you have some floral die cuts and cardstock on hand, you should give this a try. Okay, so I have my coral and my dark green strips here, and I'm going to go ahead and get this background put together. I really wanted to make sure that these strips were differing widths so that they kind of played against each other. You'll also notice that the whitest strip at the top goes kind of right next to my daughter's face. So that was intentional to make sure that that kind of drew your eye over there. We're going to do some framing of this photo too. That's going to further emphasize this photo. But for now, I'm just getting those strips exactly where I want them with that pretty green, that springy green strip, the thinnest. I really love the way that that dark green looks against the coral. It is such a pretty color combination. Haven't decided yet if I want to do a strip of green at the bottom because I want to use this die cut from Scrapbook and Cards Today. This is our lovely metal die word, and I want to use that in the dark green to add to the bottom right corner of my photo. And instead of a dark green strip, we'll just use that large dark green title. Now, I really love the way that that looks, and it just really sets that off. Now, with these metal dies come a shadow die as well. And I love the shadow because if you have a busy background, you can soften that, make your title or your sentiments stand out by outlining it in white. But here, I don't want it to stand out too much. I just want to soften it. So I chose vellum. I really love using vellum for those shadow dies. I really love the way that that looks. It does look lovely, just as the title states. Now, this is totally unlike me, but I'm using some mixed media here. I've grabbed some Vicky Bouton acrylic paint that I had on hand, and this is a gold, so it has that metallic sheen to it. And I'm just mixing it with a little bit of water to get it to the right consistency so that I can tap some droplets all over my title. And I'm going to be using this paint further on my die cuts just to give them a little bit of a metallic sheen, some drops, and I think that this just adds to the prettiness. I'll say the prettiness of those die cuts. So I'm going to set that aside, make sure that that is dry before I touch it to my layout. Get this adhered down. I will go back and add my journaling later typed in that journaling card. But for now, I'm grabbing my dies. I have two dies here from Spellbinders. The smaller one is the Sealed Bouquet. The larger one is Floral Reflection. They both have so many different florals that if you use different colors, you could get a different look every single time. So my first step when I'm doing floral die cuts is always the greenery. I like to put the greenery down first, do different hues of green, and then top that with flowers. And sometimes, you know, you can have a lot of greenery and just a little bit of flowers and get a really beautiful result. So, this is the start of our die cutting journey for this layout. There is a lot of die cutting. There might be a little bit of camera shake because unfortunately I put down foam core, so I'm not doing it on my desktop, but I'm going to try to minimize that. So we're going with different shades of green, and I am just like die cutting, not having a plan in mind, really, just kind of die cutting different shades because then you can go back and cut apart what you need and save what you don't need. I will say, whenever you're doing a layout like this and you have too many die cuts, put those in a little, plastic envelope. Keep them inside your die packet, however you save that in an envelope or storage solution. Keep those in with your metal dies so that the next time you pull out your metal dies and you want to use those, you may have some pieces already on hand that are perfect for what you need. So I've done my greenery in a medium, a light, and now we're going in with the dark. I do like to have different hues of green represented. You can also, if you don't have multiple colors of green cardstock, you can also take some ink and just add a bit of a darker green shading using a blending brush or a sponge, and that does the trick as well. Now, when I grab this floral reflection die, I'm starting to look at the flowers and figuring out what colors I'm going to do each of the floral designs on this one. This also coordinates with another die that is just lovely, that creates that beautiful back panel there. So, starting out with the flowers now, my tip is to always cut more than you think you will need because it is likely that you'll place it down and realize you just want one more flower, and then you'll have to go back and get your die cutting machine back out again. Speaking of die cutting machines, this die cutting machine is the Spellbinders Platinum 6, and I really love it. It is very smooth, easy to operate, and it's just, it's just easy, exactly the way the die cutting should be. So I'm just running my flowers through. I'm doing multiples of each one, kind of looking at on this metal die, the flowers fit in certain places. So I'm looking to see, where those fit and how many I might need. I'm reaching into my packet of Concord and Ninth scrap paper. So this is another tip. Keep a big envelope of scrap paper on hand just for die cutting. It is the best way to make sure that you use up all of those paper bits here. Just trying to see if I have another color that I'm looking for, but I'm going to go with Stardust. This is one of my favorite Concord and Ninth colors. Stardust is such a good one. It's kind of like a citrine color. It's a mix between a green and a yellow, and I just love it. Love it so much, and I think it fits really well with corals and teals and that dark green color as well. So we're just going to do a few florals in that one too. Because I have that coral color, I also want something a little bit softer. So I'm going with another, like a lighter pink. This is Ballet Slipper. And I really, I really love that kind of soft pink. I think it will look really great with the corals and on top of those greens and with that stardust citrine color. So I'm running two dyes at once to give me loads of little flowers, and I'm just putting these grouped by color here on my desk. By the end of this session, I have to take a break and do a little tidy before I go back to creating the layout because it's a lot. The other thing I want to do is add a little bit of sparkle, and the inside of some of the flowers just, would work great with this glitter paper that is also from Concord and Ninth. And I don't want a bling bling kind of effect, just a little touch, just a tiny little touch of sparkle. So we're just going to do the floral centers. Okay, here's the fun part. I got my journaling added. I am ready to place these die cuts down. So the great thing about the floral reflection die is that background is all together, and then you can cut it apart. So you can have a big old piece of the greenery there, like I do at the bottom right, or you can cut it apart like I did at the top left. And I really love that. And look at how pretty that dark green against that mid-tone green looks there. So nice. Using my Gina K Designs Connect glue here to adhere my die cut title to the vellum. Now this die cut title comes from the a CT sampler actually. Every month you get a package of brand new sample size goodies and exclusives from SCT like this title. You can see there that my gold paint has dried, and look how pretty that looks. So what's cool about the floral reflection die is that the florals fit exactly on top of the greenery. So you can definitely see the shape and know that you're placing the right flower where. Now that doesn't mean that you absolutely have to. You can kind of like mix it up and do something completely different as long as it covers. So I'm just trying to figure out here what I'm going to do with this little flower. I know I want to put my light pink ones down here, these little posies. So pretty. I love it when products make it easy for you. And you'll see here that I'm just using my fingertips. You can also use tweezers for this, but unfortunately I hid my tweezers from my toddler, and now I can't find my tweezers, so a new pair needs to be on order. Look at how pretty that stardust color fits in there. I really, really like that. Just kind of layering up these florals. You can also see that I've added some of that gold paint to the florals as well and kind of let them dry for a few minutes before placing them on the page. You can also do that step after they're on the page. Just add a little touch of shine to your florals. Okay, going up to that top left hand corner, I'm going to do the same exact thing. Just place the florals where they belong on that leafy background. You can definitely see that gold paint there, kind of shimmering, shining. Okay, I'm taking a little break here before I keep going with my die cuts. I wanted to add some dimension to that photo mat, so we definitely need to grab some scrapbook adhesives by 3L foam to pop up that photo, especially now that I have my journaling printed. And then I can kind of move on to layer those die cuts tucked under that photo, so I'll know that I have enough space for that. Okay, so getting my title placed is kind of important now, just so I can make sure that I have the balance that I need. And I'm getting those scrapbook adhesives by 3L foam pieces, those foam squares, where you won't be able to see them behind. I definitely want to get that L in lovely tucked underneath the greenery. So pretty. And I'm using these LE Studio alphabet stickers to add the word U just underneath. It's a classic kind of alpha sticker. And then adding a few of the square adhesive pieces underneath those florals. Now I really want to get some different colors of greenery down here on the bottom right. So we need to definitely get that darker green in there and that lighter green up in the top left. Oh, it's so pretty when they kind of angle around your photo. They really frame the photo, and that's exactly what I was going for. And that's what you can see in this sketch. It's such a beautiful sketch, and no matter what kind of florals you use, whether it's ephemera that's pre-printed or metal dies like this, which I will say, if you use your metal dies that you have on hand that you would typically use for, creating a card, they are so much more delicate than printed ephemera, which usually has, a white edge on them, so you can't really group them together very well. So, I mean, going with these metal dies is just a great way to get such delicate details of florals on your layout. So this is where you just kind of keep adding until it feels right. Don't feel like you have to add a flower to every single space there is a flower on these dies. No one will know the difference that there's meant to be a flower there. I'm just getting these little kind of like berries, I guess you would call them, placed here with my Gina K Connect glue. The other thing I'd like to remember is that when I do these florals is that you kind of want to move the florals around the page too. So I have two major areas of these like bouquets of florals, but you definitely want to add a few more kind of scattered about. Just above my title there was a perfect place for one, and a couple of smaller, those pink posies kind of off of the floral bouquet. Then I'm going to grab some enamel dots. These are also from Concord and Ninth, and pop those in the center of some of my flowers. Not everyone, but generally the same flower will get the same enamel dot throughout all of the florals. The sketch also shows a little banner at the top left corner, And I thought a banner would be the perfect thing for me to add a stamped sentiment. So I'm using this set from scrapbook.com that has some great sentiments that are great for scrapbook layouts or cards. And I'm using a pre-printed banner piece of ephemera from Crate Paper. It's actually from their Mittens and Mistletoe collection, which is Christmas themed, but obviously the banner is not. So I am just kind of angling that banner. That's a great thing about clear stamps, is that you can kind of mold them or make them go into any kind of shape that you want to fit a die cut like this. So I am stamping "So Happy You're You," and could that be any more perfect? I think not. So the perfect thing about this banner is that it also covers up kind of the end of my floral bouquet there. So it was just running into nothing on my photo there. So this is the perfect way to kind of hide that ending. I love a banner shape too. It is such a versatile thing to have. You can do anything with it. You could write the date, stamp a sentiment like I did. Banners are just one of my favorite kind of icons that I use in my scrapbooking and in my card making as well, because they are great at holding small sentiments for a little bit of extra oomph on your card. So that is the completed layout, my friends. I could not love it anymore. I definitely gave my Spellbinders Platinum 6 a workout to create this layout, but I think it is absolutely perfect. There were a lot of revolutions on that machine to cut all of those beautiful florals, but just look at the way that it turned out. I love that there are two main groups of florals that really frame the photo, that special photo of my daughter, and the title coming off on the right there is just perfect too. It's such a lovely spring layout. I hope you guys love it as much as I do, and that you'll pull out a sketch from our spring 2023 issue and your metal dies to create a layout. Happy creating!